Hey folks, BlackCross here, and welcome to a... this is going to be an interesting video. This is kind of a discussion video, but it's more of a top 10 favorites, if you will. Because recently, I had just gotten my 50th Platinum Trophy. Well, at least by the time this recording comes out, it'll be officially 52. But I gotten 50 Platinum Trophies, finally. And when you think about it, that's pretty impressive, except... majority of them come from the PlayStation 3. So in other words, from the PlayStation 3 on up to the PS4, that's where I've been attaining the trophy lists and stuff like that. Of course, naturally I hadn't gotten PS5 for obvious reasons. But aside from that, I finally gotten my 50th Platinum Trophy. And this was, to me, this was very exciting. So I figured, why not go ahead and put together my personal favorite games that I platinumed over the years. So yeah, the majority of them did kind of spawn from the PlayStation 3, but there is a handful of PS4 as well in the process, so I figure I'd go ahead and just kind of touch bases as to what games I have platinumed, which are my favorites, and kind of give you kind of like maybe some tips or stuff if you ever feel like encouraging yourself of wanting to platinum some of these games, because some of them, depending on what they are, can be a little bit grueling, but let's just get started. Assassin's Creed 2 was actually the very first Platinum Trophy that I have ever attained. Naturally, Assassin's Creed, at the time that I had Platinum Assassin's Creed 2, didn't have trophy support. I know, technically, towards the end of the PlayStation 3's lifespan, both Uncharted 1 and Metal Gear Solid 4 had updates to where it had trophy support. But I don't think Assassin's Creed did, and it was one of the earlier PlayStation 3 titles for that matter as well. But I was like, you know what, I'll platinum Assassin's Creed 2 since it's another favorite of mine. Keep in mind, back then, Assassin's Creed 3 hadn't come out, so I was platinuming a couple of other games as well, with Assassin's Creed 2 being the first one. And, you know, it's the same reason that I have for why I love Assassin's Creed 3, except it's a little bit more on the simplistic side. For example, in Assassin's Creed, you're basically, in terms of completion, aside from beating the main story, you also have the fact that at the time you're trying to collect stuff, you know. You're collecting every item, every weapon piece and stuff like that, and it gets displayed inside your villa as well. But not only that, but you're also upgrading the villa gradually more and more in order to make it fuller, make it alive again. From where when you whenever you first came to the villa, it was basically a desolate wasteland, basically. And by the time you get towards the end, you know, it's a little bit more of a paradise, if you will, in terms of a villa. And I actually like that. I do like the progression of the, I suppose what you call the main hub of the game. And it's really nice. I do like it. I do love the display of the different weapons that you do attain, and you can easily equip them if you wanted to and stuff like that, followed by the different robes and everything. So it's like, I really do like that. It's my personal favorite that I liked it out of the Assassin's Creed 2 game. Now keep in mind, there's also a trophy for collecting all feathers, and that was the last trophy that was needed in order to platinum the game, I remember, because that's a lot of feathers to collect, what there was. Most of it was just more or less, I guess you can call platforming challenges, which would make sense because of Assassin's Creed. But I liked it. I like it really well. It's one of my personal favorites. Plus, it was the only Assassin's Creed game, surprisingly, that I've ever platinumed. And it's like, huh, I didn't platinum 3? Okay. I mean, I remember 3 having a lot of stuff to do in order to platinum the game, so that's going to be something I'm going to keep in mind of whenever I go and platinum for the PS4 version, so we'll see how that goes. God of War 2. Now, why is this one personally my favorite versus any other God of War game? Because, here's the thing. There's a lot of God of War games that I've actually platinumed. I'm pretty sure, with the exception of the newest one, I have platinumed every God of War game up to that point. And it's like, so why did I pick 2 in particularly? Well, 2 is actually one of the more non-excruciatory, painstaking moments when it comes to platinum game. Here's the thing, when it comes to God of War, there is a lot of stuff that's got to be done. You have the fact that, you know, you have to collect all the Gorgon's Eye, all the Phoenix Feathers, and then of course the biggest one of them all, taking on the Challenge of the Gods, or Challenge of the Titans, depending on which one you've got. And, oh gosh, you want to talk about frustrating as hell. God of War 1 was painstaking, because keep in mind, God of War 1, in order to platinum that one, you know, aside from doing everything else in terms of the main game and stuff like that, you had to beat Challenge of the Gods, which means you have to take on 10 separate challenges in a single row. You could not pick or whatever. You had to go in order all the way from beginning to end and not fail it. And I remember my best friend trying to attempt this one time, and he said it took him like literally 8 hours before finally mastering it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I remember going through hell and high water trying to get that trophy. So the reason why number 1 isn't my favorite is because of that alone. Number 2, however, is my personal favorite because number 1, it was easier to get the platinum trophies, but it was still challenging to a certain degree. Whereas God of War 3, it was definitely a lot easier to take on versus how 2 was. 2 was the right amount of challenge, but at the same time, you didn't have to go through all of them in a single row or whatever, like how in the first one was. So it's one of those things where it's like, it was definitely a lot more easier to take on, and it was a lot more, I suppose you could say a lot more, balance, if you will, in terms of accomplishing a God of War game. Especially trying to get a platinum trophy, which, oh, boy. Jak and Dexter, the very first one, mind you. I never went out of my way to platinum 2 or 3 because of one main thing and one main thing only out of those 2 games. And that is the precursor orbs. Now, in the first one, it's very basic, you know, it's a very collect-a-thon type thing where you're collecting precursor orbs, you're collecting power cells, and everything of that nature. So it's very easy, very blissful to get through the game, and very enjoyable. And if you're a fan of Jak and Dexter, chances are this one's going to be another easy one for you. You know, you complete whatever quest is up to get power cells, you collect stuff, you collect scout flies and everything of that nature. So relatively, depending on who you are, it's not going to be that hard to get. Jak 2 and 3, however, getting precursor orbs is like trying to find a needle in the haystack. If you find it by chance sometimes, and it's like, oh, there it is. So I never really got around to platinuming Jak 2 or 3. So really, Jak and Dexter is the one that I platinum, and really, in all honesty, it's the only one that I don't mind platinuming. Again, for the PS4. Keep in mind, this was for the PlayStation 3, so there you go on that reasoning. But whenever I go for the PlayStation 4 versions, I'll probably platinum that one as well. It'll be another easy one, obviously, but with the other 2, I don't think that's going to happen. Then again, there's also Jak X Combat Racing, and I've never really beaten Combat Racing, so maybe that might be something to attempt later on. The next one is Fallout 3, and I know what you guys are going to say. What about Fallout 4? Or what about Fallout 76? I'm going to tell you right now, they are not that good. I think the only reason why I liked Fallout 3 so much was because of the overall scope of things, you know, in terms of having your own base, gathering stuff and everything of that nature, and it just felt right, you know. And the best part about it is that when you gathered everything, you could just sell it. And even if it was a small, minuscule amount of caps, it built up over time. And so needless to say, I was able to build up a pretty good base, actually, in my personal opinion, whenever it came to the overall end concept of the game. Plus, you know, I went for overall good tier and stuff like that. And so by the time I got towards, like, the end of the stuff where everything else was wrapping up, I went on ahead and just went through a killing spree to get into, like, bad karma. And I got the platinum trophy right there. But unlike in Fallout 3, Fallout 4 decided to go deeper detailing, you know, where it was like, every item you gather, you can use it to essentially build and stuff like that. And while that sounds creative on the surface level, I felt like in this version, they definitely restricted things, unfortunately. Where in the third one, you gathered a lot of stuff and sold it real quickly. In the fourth one, however, I felt like you were kind of restrained. You know, every item was essential, every item was crucial, but unfortunately, you didn't really have a lot of use for some of the other materials that came out of it. So it's like, you had like certain materials that you did need, but then there were other materials that you didn't need. So it felt like it rationed out itself in the main game itself. In fact, some of my friends pointed out whenever the game came out, they learned that there was like a ratio thing for every playthrough and stuff like that. For some games, you got more lead. For some people, they got more fabric, so on and so forth. So it's one of those things where it's like, I felt like Fallout 4 tried to do too much, whereas Fallout 3 did just the right amount that it needed to be in order to be what it is. Plus, I was very entertained in Fallout 3 compared to Fallout 4, so say what you will, but I did enjoy Fallout 3, and for that one, that was actually a fun, long playthrough in terms of platinuming that game. Which is funny because some of my friends believe that I had cheated on that one, and I never figured out how to hack, so how would I have cheated? But some of my friends still believe that I have hacked that trophy. Here's the thing, if I knew how to do that, there was a number of games that I would have hacked it easily. Final Fantasy XIII and Dead Space, because I ain't going out of my way to platinum in any of the other games, unless I knew I couldn't, because, yeah, too much of a pain to try. Final Fantasy VII, and technically, trophy support was only available for the PS4 version. I don't think it ever got an update for the PlayStation 3 version, so when the PS4 version of Final Fantasy VII came out, and it had trophy support, that was relatively an easy one to get as well, but not just because of how I have played the game so many times, but also because of how it has a cheat mode, and surprisingly, the cheat mode does not lock you out of earning the trophies, you know. Then again, you know, when you're countering the super bosses and stuff like that, yeah, it is kind of one of those things where it's like, it's a good thing to have those cheat mode, because those super bosses, oh my gosh, they are a nuisance to fight. But, aside from that though, it's definitely a fun one that I like doing a lot of. I know I platinum Final Fantasy X technically. I like it pretty well, but, you know, Final Fantasy VII is a personal favorite of mine, and I enjoyed it platinuming that one relatively well as in that respect. So, if you had to ask which one was my favorite Final Fantasy game to platinum, it was 7, and I've only platinumed 2 so far, so. Then again, Final Fantasy VII Remake has only 1 trophy left in order for me to platinum it, so who knows? Medieval for the PlayStation 4. Now, here's the thing, Medieval is not a hard game. It's not. It's something that I think a lot of people might enjoy, but this was actually a fun game to platinum. Keep in mind, when I played the original PlayStation 1, I wanted to play it for so long because I liked how it looked, I liked how it was, and everything like that. But I couldn't play the PlayStation 1 version because it definitely left me a little bit of a nauseating because of the camera controls. Whereas the PlayStation 4 version has improved that, plus it's a nicer looking game. But it was also a really fun game to platinum, and it was one of those things where it's like, a short game isn't a bad thing, you know, especially if the game is short enough to where you can enjoy it, have fun with it and everything like that, and get an easy platinum trophy out of it. So in my personal opinion, Medieval was definitely one of those fun games to play, and was a fun one to platinum as well. Dark Souls for PlayStation 3. I know, I hadn't gotten the PS4 version remastered of it, but I had platinum the PlayStation 3 version, and out of all 3 Dark Souls games that I have platinum, I'm getting so tongue twisted right now, platinum, Dark Souls, the first one for PlayStation 3, was definitely the one that I enjoy the most. Most of the trophies are more or less like item questing and stuff like that, you know, like getting all the items, including the boss souls weapons, creating the weapons from different raw materials, like say for example, the raw upgrade, the flame upgrade, the chaos flame, so on and so forth. So it's one of those things where it's like, you're going to be playthroughing it like at least 3 times, you know, because of the fact that Grey Wolf Sith have like 3 optional weapons that it can create from its souls. So keep that in mind on that one. But it was pretty fun just to explore the world, find the items that you need in order to customize and create and upgrade and stuff like that. And it was fun to go through. So in my personal opinion, if I had to pick up the 3, Dark Souls 1 would be the one that I enjoy doing. I still needed the PS4 version, but I did the PlayStation 3. Minecraft. I have platinum Minecraft. However, though, due to however many updates it has had over the years, it's not completely max of all of its trophies, but technically in terms of the base game, it is officially platinum. So technically it counts. I know a lot of people are going to be like, you didn't technically 100% it. I did get a platinum trophy, so it does count. But why did I pick this one, and why is this so up my list? Well, because Minecraft is a different kind of game that I enjoy. It's the kind of game that I can just sit down for hours on end and just play it and enjoy it, you know? Starting from beginning to end, you know, crafting stuff, gathering items, building my base and everything like that. I enjoy Minecraft for what it is, for its simplistic gameplay, for its longevity and everything like that. In fact, sometimes whenever I jump into Minecraft, I can just play it and forget how many hours I have already put into it, you know? It's one of those games where it's like, it's gonna be weird for me to say this, but if I was ever a druggie, I would probably end up being lost in the game and just be like, veg out entirely. I don't know what it is, but Minecraft is that vegged out game for me. I can just play it and forget time ever existed. So it's like, I can play it, like, literally 6 o'clock in the morning, play it, all of a sudden, I'm like, I wonder what time it is, and all of a sudden, it's like 10 p.m., and I'm like, what the frick? So, I don't know what it is. I enjoy it so much. So, definitely in terms of platinuming, this was something that I enjoy doing, and because of the fact that I enjoy playing it for long hours at a time, it was one of those easy trophies for me again. Bloodborne. I don't even have to tell you why this is on here, and why it's number 2. I don't even have to tell you, but I'm going to anyway. I enjoy the bosses. I enjoy the challenge dungeons. I enjoy everything that this game had. And needless to say, I will still clamor and want a sequel out of it, because let me tell you something. Bloodborne is an awesome, amazing game. Probably the best that From Software ever created. And the fact that I have played it so many times at this point right now, it's hard to say if I've ever done everything, which technically I hadn't done everything. I hadn't tried all the different weapons, you know. And there is the fact that technically there are like secret bosses that are trapped within the challenge dungeon themselves that people have uncovered, which, by the way, people have discovered all possible randomized dungeons, which that's an achievement, really, when you think about it. The fact that the community has finally discovered all possible chalice dungeons is like, so now we've reached to the point where randomized is no longer random. It's just, this is all the possible dungeons you can discover. And the fact that they've even categorized and list, and the fact that they've discovered these technical secret bosses is kind of insane, you know, to think that these bosses could have been potentially bosses that would have been part of the main game. It would have been interesting to actually see them and actually encounter them, but the fact that we never got that in the main game, and instead they're more or less like, I suppose, at this point you might as well call them glitch bosses, because technically some of them you can't even log onto them, some of them you can't even enter in them normally. It's like certain ways you gotta do it in the main game. This isn't just from the PC version or whatever, this is just looking at it from PS4 version. There are some things you gotta do in order to do this, so it's like, it's interesting to know how far we've gotten in Bloodborne, and it shows through as to how well and how much love the game has. So, needless to say, platinuming that one was no wonder why I platinumed it to begin with, because it was just a fun game. Plus, I'm pretty sure in terms of the PS4 games, this one was the first of the PS4 games that I've earned a platinum trophy out of. So in other words, you can probably guess what's going to be my first PlayStation 5 game when I finally do get a PS5, which one's going to be my first platinum trophy. Obviously, Demon's Souls. And for this last one, I think I feel like I should go in depth into explaining why. Why, obviously, the first one. Why on earth is the first one such a powerful game for me to say this is my absolute favorite game to platinum? But I don't think I have to tell you. Most of you probably already know this, because Kingdom Hearts 1 is my absolute favorite out of the series, next to 3 and 2 and all that stuff. But also too, in terms of the overall scaling of how to platinum it, what all you have to do in order to get out of the way to remotely platinum the game. And it's like, in my personal opinion, if they gave me the option of platinuming so many times, if for every generation the PlayStation Sony system got a new system and Square Enix decided to say, hey, we're re-releasing Kingdom Hearts again, but you're gonna have to platinum them again anyway, I'd be like, I'm gonna do it. And people are like, are you nuts? And I'm like, I'm going to do it as many times as I want. So it's like, Kingdom Hearts, it just holds a deep memory in me and everything. So platinuming it is no major problem for me. I love going back into it. I love platinuming it again over and over and over. And I can tell you right now that in terms of completing the game, this one is the best one in my personal opinion. If you wanted to platinum one, keep in mind in Kingdom Hearts 2, you have the organization data bosses that you have to tackle on and stuff. The 13 mushrooms that's got to be tackled on and stuff. But also, too, in Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, you have all the cards you've got to collect, which can be a minuscule, followed by tedious tasks that's got to be done. Technically, Kingdom Hearts Burst by Sleep would be the hardest game to get a platinum trophy, depending on what you do. If you're careful enough, it won't be as hard, but keep in mind, you have to complete. Yes, complete all 3 characters in order to get the platinum trophy for Burst by Sleep. So, needless to say, if I had to rank something, Burst by Sleep would be the hardest game of the series to get a platinum out of it. So, because of how long it would take in order to platinum it, and how much you had to work for and stuff like that. But also, too, Kingdom Hearts 1 is just a personal favorite of mine. And it's no wonder I've continued to do this, and it became my 50th platinum game, technically. Technically, I platinumed the PlayStation 3 version, but when I found out that there was a separate PlayStation 4 trophy set, I was like, well, I'm going to do the PlayStation 4. Why not go ahead and platinum it again? I just love it. Well, anyway, guys, that's going to be it for this video. Needless to say, platinuming 50 PlayStation trophies is definitely something to be an achievement of, in my personal opinion. I know some people would have different opinions on that one, but really, when you think about it, 50 is a pretty high number. And to think, I'm working my way to 100. I'm not going to get to 100 anytime soon, obviously. I say by the time I get to 100, we'll be halfway through the PlayStation 5's lifespan, probably. But that's aside the point. The point is that I'm working my way up there. So thank you so much for watching, and I shall see you in the next video. Let me know in the comments below, what are your favorite platinum trophies to get? What are your personal favorite games that when you finally get the platinum trophy, you just felt this joy of like platinuming the game itself, you know? So anyway, thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Catch you guys later.